and we really appreciate you being here with us today, brother.
Thanks, man. I feel the love. Like, I appreciate your shout outs. I appreciate your reaching out. You have amazing followers. They're all flocking to my channel. And, for the most part, it's nothing but love. So thank you guys for keeping it real. Yeah, it means a lot. This hasn't been an easy journey. So thank you guys.
And it should always be love, man. Like, that's really the way that we fix this, is by finding common ground, by, finding mutual things that we have in common and not letting that gap keep growing, because things are escalating and that's not going to be good for either side, any of the American people. And all it really does when things escalate and they get into violence, in my opinion, we are purposefully divided by the ones who are actually in power, because it's so much easier to control us and keep their foot on our neck if we're fighting with each other, while they absolutely bleed us dry and we lose our only chance at the American dream. So I wanted to ask you, how long were you in Antifa?
I believe it was about 2 years, 2018 to 2020.
And were you recruited? Did you seek them out? How exactly did that work?
I sought them out. I was very well aware from the beginning that it was an organization. I just wasn't sure how it operated, and I never fell into any particular group or cell. I was kind of a drifter, so I just kind of blew where the wind took me. I was led into and out of the chaos, but yeah, I sought them out.
So you may have been a drifter, but can you clarify this for us? As somebody who was in Antifa, is it a actual organization?
100,000%. Don't let anybody fool you otherwise.
And they have like a hierarchy and a leadership structure. What is that like?
Well, the way I classify the two classes of Antifa, at least street level, you have the devotees and you have the wannabes. The devotees are people like me, people who are really in it for the Civil War aspect. We knew damn well we were playing in Civil War territory. We wanted to fight. We wanted to take out our political enemies. We wanted to take out all our rage. We were willing to do what the little trans kids on the college campus wouldn't, right? They're the wannabes, the furries, the one coming out in the dinosaur suits, all of which is made to make it look light and fluffy, while people like me were behind the scenes. I would walk around with a machete half the size of my fucking leg. I called it my self-defense machete. It's fucking pathetic. But so the devotees kind of use the wannabe class as human shield. So a lot of the time the wannabes would get taken out first because they want to be virtuous. They want to be there with their cameras at the front, and then holy shit, here come the rubber bullets. And then the ones in the back can be like, see, we told you. And then some of them can go to fight, and then others can go to run away.
That's crazy, man. So would you classify this organization as terroristic?
Yep. My thoughts going into,
you're saying they want civil war, so.
Yeah, it's a domestic terror organization. I wish it could have gone differently. I love alternate history as much as the next guy. I'd love to see what that world looks like, but unfortunately the reality is, like, this is bad. This is a white boy jihad, and it's gonna get fucked up.
Well, I'm hoping that we can avoid that. I don't know exactly how we would get there, but it seems almost like it has elements of a cult per se. Did you see elements of sort of a cultish structure there?
It's a cult, but it's a cult with cults, I'm realizing, which is even fucking worse.
They say that it's just an ideology and it's just an idea, but they have structure. They have, it feels like there's layers to the whole thing, and it seems like it's very complex. Did you ever see anything that made you think that they were funded from any outside entities?
I started doing some investigations into my channel, and along the way I met this guy, and he told me he was a part of Antifa, but he was very, very paranoid, and I didn't really know why. So I kind of had to work my way in and be like, dude, like, what's going on with you? And what I ultimately learned is that he was being gang stalked by criminal organizations that he had been a part of. He had gotten into Antifa for probably a couple weeks, couple months. I can't remember specifically, but he was going in as a drug mule to sell drugs to these kids. And he was also leaning on the anti-fascist ideology. He had his own gripes with white supremacy from his past and his family. And he wanted to fight Nazis, but he realized how stupid they were. But then he just kind of stayed embedded because he still had to make the money, right? He told me a lot, essentially, that Chinese criminal syndicates were in control of Portland and God knows how much of the rest of Oregon. He just told me Portland. But essentially that they were sending agents in and they were mitigating the chaos, and that they had people everywhere, and that when a riot breaks out on one side of the city and all the cops and all the resources and all the media are there and they can monitor the traffic from their agents, their drones, their people in certain places, that gives them leeway to do operations like child trafficking, weapons trade, drug trade. So while we were all fighting each other and we're all wondering where are the kids, why is there so many drugs, why are all these people so militant, this is what was happening. This was the reality of what right versus left brought us in this country. That's the fucking reality of Antifa.
It sounds like they're also being funded through illegal activities. Is Antifa participating in illegal activities to raise their funding for the organization and the things that they're doing?
I believe that local businesses, at least I can say in Eugene, a lot of these far left areas, especially areas of entertainment, and let's just say debauchery, a lot of the bars, a lot of them were in bed with Antifa, and I think a lot of them were getting in bed with local charities and NGOs, and I really believe that, look, the National Guard is great and everything. You really want to sink these motherfuckers? Sick the IRS on them. Audit everybody, because there's multiple ways that these kids were getting funding. You know, for a lot of them, people like me, it was kind of like Scientology, pay to play. Yeah, you got to pay your bills, but you might also need the mask for tomorrow type stuff. And then for the girls in Antifa, a lot of them were sex workers. So they're making a shit ton of money that guys like us couldn't make. And then on the community level, a lot of these bars and a lot of these downtown businesses, they pride themselves on the idea of revolution, a new world, apocalyptic narratives that we're all going to die. You go around to all these places and it has satanic imagery fucking everywhere.
I mean, it sounds borderline like the women might even be being trafficked to a certain extent by the organization. But have you seen stuff like drug dealing going on? And have you seen any possible links? I know you mentioned Chinese organizations. Have you seen any links with cartels in Antifa?
Well, the Chinese syndicates would be communist Chinese cartels. So they're their own form of cartel. But I think especially as Texas pushed out a lot of the migrant crisis, you started to notice there was more Mexicans popping up there. I think a lot of that was going on. I have my suspicions. I won't say them on camera, just on the off chance that I'm wrong, because I don't want to take a bullet to the head. But I do believe that there are multiple syndicates and criminal organizations that play here. Okay, so you've already said that they were encouraging edging towards civil war. Have you seen Antifa pushing its members towards escalating violence? 100%. And they play with the same language that gets played in the Middle East. They throw it all around Oregon. You'd see it spray painted around the campuses. Antifada. And the word Antifa is literally in that. So, I mean, sometimes the universe just tells you things flat out. A lot of what's happening in the Middle East, it's really the same as what's going on here. We're in the early stages of stone throwing. That stone throwing led to a lot of public optics of, oh no, the kids are being shot at, they're being attacked, how horrible, how horrible. Meanwhile, the footage of them punching a police officer gets blocked out. So you're dealing with a culture that's essentially creating a narrative of almost an apartheid system. That's kind of why they look at you guys like you and get scared. They're like, you are not a part of our society. The same way people over in Israel, over in the other side of that in Gaza, they'll be like, oh, you're colonialist, you're settlers. Like, they're looking at a lot of these conflicts overseas and they're LARPing and they're putting themselves in that exact same position because this is a globalist movement. This is all nations. This is in the UK. This is in Ireland. This is in Africa. This is in Japan. And a lot of them really seek a world without borders, but at the same time, you have to have borders, so it's a very discoherent system, but the media really props it up. Like KZI, whenever the federal courthouse got attacked again recently, they're like, oh my God, protesters are being kidnapped. No, they're being detained.
Let me ask